I want to talk about interviewing for a second because one of the things that I've heard is you interviewed every person up to some very high number. If I understood
Yeah.
correctly, it was 800 or something like that. You
Definitely a little north
interviewed
of 5, probably close to
800.
8, yeah.
Okay, so you interviewed
Every human, yeah.
every person that that has been hired, that was hired up until that point. You interviewed.
Yeah.
How how did you do that? Why did you do that? I have a lot of like I enjoy interviewing actually. I've interviewed a lot of people, but at some point, like that's so many people. I mean, how do you have the time for that? How did you have the time for that?
Yeah, I mean, there was a point in time here where, yeah, if you looked at my schedule and I color coded or Jamie color coded, so I don't do shit, so I just let her take care of it. So, yeah, most of the color was yellow, which is interviews. I mean, you just see a sea of them. And I would go late into the night. I would do early mornings. I would, like, you name it. I would do what I needed to do. So, but I think it was a hack for so many things. Like, yes, interviewing is a piece of it, and you're trying to maintain a high quality bar, but it's also an interesting way to have impromptu coaching. Because I get a bunch of candidates, I go back to the hiring manager, like, "What the hell are you doing? Like, why are you even sending these people to me? Like, I think you need this. You're sending me this other, background. Like we are not calibrated on what you need for your org." Or you just start to see patterns emerge. And I use it a lot for coaching sessions. I would read other people's scorecards, and then I would go back and provide feedback, like, "Why did you ask this question?" Or, "How did you miss this?" Or, like, "Why aren't we formulating that?" So I think it was very, very useful to keep a good, firm grasp with everything happening at the company. I knew everything that happened in the company when I'm doing that, and I know a lot of people coming in, and even to this day, because we have large cohorts that all interviewed me, they'll tell me some of the questions I asked, in the interviews, and some of them were pretty. I am known for being direct. I mean, I apparently looked at someone and said, "You've worked in 5 different industries. Like, have you finally figured out what you want to do when you grow up, or are we gonna, like, help figure that out for you?" So, but by being as direct with people, you tend to, like, shake things out pretty fast. And some of those people that I interviewed, a lot of them are still here. And you build a relationship early. And of course, the other piece is I'm selling pretty actively in those interviews. And the other thing, which I don't talk about a lot now, but I also did a 90-day check-in with every single employee at the company. 90 days. But after 90 days, they've been here. I go back and say, "I talked to you 90 days ago when we hired you. What differs for what you thought you were joining, either in the role or in the company or in the culture? Um, is it still a good fit? If it's a rep, have they closed a deal yet, and why or why not? Like, these are all like really important pieces that yeah, I mean, look, you get people right in a business, a lot else gets easier. So, like, it really does come down to, like, if you want to have a huge impact on your company, if you closely guard culture and people, and you hire well, like, you're gonna look really smart. Like, your strategy looks genius when you hire a lot of really good people. So, like, for me, it's just you get that right, you're gonna be successful.
Why did you stop doing it?
I mean, it does get to a scale level where you start having to hire 500 people in a year, 600 people in a year, extra. That is brutal. And you also realize you get to a point where I needed to do a better job of teaching what I was doing, and the company not relying on me as the backstop. Because the reality is the company becomes very, like, it becomes risky if what we found is managers were sending through candidates and just letting me be the backstop. And so they weren't building the muscles they needed to do to, like, really execute at scale. And I still would spot check or check things. I mean, look, I still approve every offer, and I reject plenty of offers. Like, if there's a mistake in, like, a single scorecard, like, yeah, it gets rejected. It's like, so everyone knows, like, yeah, I'm gonna read pretty much every scorecard every single time. So there's like, you you want like a culture of like there's going to be accountability at every level, and it just forces it causes people to take it very seriously. We want people to take it seriously, but yeah, I think people were using me as a crutch, and that's ultimately not great for Pendo.
Mm. It's interesting when you said before, like someone would say to you would say to someone like, "How did you not find that?" Or they would say to you, "How did you find that?" Like in the interview, I've had that experience. It's kind of interesting where maybe it is the founder CEO thing. Maybe it's because we've done thousands and thousands of interviews, but somehow you end up uncovering things in the discussion that wasn't found out for 5 interviews before it got to you, you know? And I think the part about teaching other people how to interview is really I think that's a really important point because I think most people have never been trained on interviewing. You've only been interviewed as the candidate. But then one day Todd says, "Hey, go in and interview." And you're like, no one ever told me. So you just follow, the resume down or, whatever, but you don't really know how to ask the questions.
Yeah, yeah, I started codifying all the questions I asked, why I asked them, what I look for in a resume, like, yellow flags, red flags, things I interrogate, and I wrote them all down. I shared them with all of our managers, our people team, so it's really just now taking years of interviewing like thousands of people and trying to just drill it down and like how do you conduct a proper interview and how do you go deep, and even then you make mistakes. Like we're all going to make mistakes, and I think that's the other thing to acknowledge is like, we're human, we're gonna make mistakes interviewing. Some people are really, really, really good at interviewing, so, like, they can get past you, but, I do think more feedback's always better.
So I want to talk about the customer obsession now in a different way around